Guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary, high school, and recent graduate. Today is going to be a homeschool plan with me, and I have been kind of going back and forth as to what I want to do for this plan with me. And I'm still kind of unsure actually now that I've pressed record on the camera. We have about a month left of school. So really it's like 3.5 weeks. And so I'm inclined to just write down everything that we need to get done by the end of this semester and work off of that list each week. But I don't think that I'm quite ready to do that yet. It might be something that I want to do next week. So instead, what I think I am going to do is just plan out a normal week of homeschool. This is my Sterling Ink B6 Common Planner, and I decided very, very last minute that I was going to use this planner for homeschool planning this year. And while I do really like this planner, I am unsure if I want to keep using it for the rest of this year. I have not been using it nearly as much. I mean, I have, but I haven't. I am much more inclined to just kind of look through the resources that we are using and write lists for my kids. That's what I've been doing, and kind of working through going to the next thing. With Lucy, because I use a lot more instructor's guides for her resources, and Jack's school is mostly online for the most part. Not online, but he has a lot of computer-based classes. And then a few weeks ago, we started personal development and entrepreneurship for him, which has been going really well. And I quite like the new resources that I'm using for him. So I don't know. I just don't know if I need this much space for homeschool planning because, gosh, I don't need all of these pages. I really don't, because I'm using maybe two-page spreads a week for planning. And just like in my last plan with me, I think I mentioned this, I am still not using the weekly planning pages. And I thought that what I would do is come back in during our Christmas break, during our winter break in December, and backfill everything that I need to. However, I'm kind of thinking that I want to go back to Erin Condren for homeschool planning, but not in my giant Erin Condren teacher planner, because that's just way too big for 2 kids. I do not need that amount of space, especially using this B6. I can pretty much list everything that I need in here. So what I think I want to do is get one of the softbound teacher planners. I'm unsure how that will go. I don't know if they have January to December ones. I think they only have July through June ones, which is totally okay because I don't need next fall. I need the previous fall so that I can backfill it, because I do want whatever I'm using, I keep that as my record for the year for my teacher reviews. And so I do need to have that available. I mean, it's not a requirement, but for me personally, I just like to have it for my own records, just so that it's easier when I'm putting everybody's review together at the end of the year, that I can just pull what I need to from that book. It makes my life a lot easier. So I'm going to plan out this week. We are doing pretty well. I was quite concerned, I think probably around my last homeschool update, which I think was it at the end of September, maybe middle of September, I can't quite remember, but we had to completely switch directions for Jack. And then I was thinking, oh gosh, we started so late this year. We're not going to get everything done before our break, and that's going to be hanging over my head. But I do actually feel really good about where we are. So we're just going to keep going and hope for the best. I think that this week is going to be pretty basic. I do need to make an appointment. I need to make a hair appointment for the kids. My hope is that we could do it on Friday, but I really need to text my friend and figure that out before I plan too much, because, oh shoot. Well, I'm just going to plan, and then whichever day that we end up doing the haircuts, I will have to shift that work to another day. My hope is that it's Friday, because Friday seems to be a little bit of a lighter day. However, if you've been watching any of my videos for any length of time, you will know that Fridays are supposed to be a screen-free day for us, but it has not been working lately as a screen-free day, especially after our last kind of 6-week term, when I kind of reevaluated everything, looking at the last 6 weeks of this semester, what we needed to get done. Jack has to be doing his CompuScholar and his Algebra 2 on Fridays instead of skipping that day in order to be on track for the second semester. So let's see. We are going to start with Lucy, and Lucy is reading Mr. Limoncello, and that is going pretty well. We are going to be starting the Brave Writer Guide for that this week. We were going to start it a couple of weeks ago, I think, but instead I wanted her to get into the book a little bit more, and some days she reads a few chapters and some days she's just reading one chapter. So I like to be at least halfway or 2/3 of the way through the book before we start the Brave Writer Guide, just to give us a good amount of understanding of the story overall. It just makes our conversations and discussion questions work a little bit better, even though the discussion questions are really aimed at the particular chapters that you're reading each week. It's a little bit easier for me to manage the discussion when we have gone further into the book. So we have that. We have language arts. She's going to be working on week 15 this week. So week 15, she is going to be doing a character description. Okay. For science, we are just about through halfway for the science curriculum that we're using. It's definitely been a little bit of a struggle. I did not realize Lucy was going to be queasy with all of the anatomy stuff, and she definitely is. When we are reading through that Bodypedia book, she does not like some of the descriptions. I think that they made it very engaging and fun, but it has a little bit more of a gross factor when you're reading it, and because of that, talking about all of the different organs and the functions of the organs and stuff has been a little bit more challenging for us. But we're about halfway through. We just kind of sped through, and I was helping her with identifying different parts of like the different organs and the functions of the muscles and all of that kind of stuff. So we have gone through it, but we're taking a little bit of a break from that stuff right now. And I hadn't been reading this Scene of the Crime, and I just started reading this last week. And I think we're about 26 pages in. And this is also a little bit queasy for her, but a little bit less so just for the mystery aspect of it. So we are going to be doing this for science this week. For history, we are still doing the lap book, which has been a lot of fun. And then we're finishing up the homesteading section, and we'll be moving to the industrial age, I think. Yes, okay. So lap book. We will probably be doing the industrial age all week and finish that up next week at the end of the week. And for the lap book, we just do like the next activity. I don't know how many there are, like 55 different little lap book projects, and we just kind of work on them a little bit at a time. Sometimes in one day we will do the whole thing. Sometimes she just cuts out some pieces. Sometimes she's looking up some information in the back to write down on the little things that she's cut out. And then for the read aloud, we are reading The Great Wheel, about the first Ferris wheel. And I really liked that book when I read it, both with Emma and with Jack, which is good, and probably why I'm reading it again with Lucy. And then for math, we are still in Singapore 5A, and we are working on fractions now. Whoops, 5A. Yep, that is correct, but we are in exercise 17. And then on Friday, she has Mr. Limoncello, Brave Writer copywork, Singapore exercise, so 21, I think. 21, and then her dailies, which are cursive, World Watch for current events, Wordly Wise, which she has fallen off on doing some of that. I need to sit down with her, and that is a new thing this year, and it's not really something that I have a huge amount of expectations around because it's something new that we're doing. So we're just trying to get through it as we can. And then the last thing is spelling UC. Now for Jack. Jack is reading Ender's Game, which I think he needs to finish that, not this week, but the next week. And then he'll have a week for papers. Okay. And then discuss the questions. He has teaching textbooks for math. Okay, then he has Japanese, level 3, which he is working on and doing a good job with. He just does a little bit each day. I don't really direct this subject for him. He just kind of moves to the next thing, and I do check in with it pretty regularly to just make sure that he's actually doing it. Okay, and then CompuScholar, he has Chapter 8 homework and activity, and then he will move into Chapter 9. And this one has been very challenging. The level of work required is much more in-depth for the Java programming than his computer science last year, which was still challenging, but also really good. And I think that part of it is because this is for an AP class. We haven't registered him to take the AP test, but I think it's usually a class that you take junior or senior year, and he's a sophomore, so I'm really pleased with how well he's doing with it, but it is definitely challenging if you're looking at the Java programming. There have been some of his codes that when he runs it through the test, it comes out correctly, but then when he puts it in for the final grade, there may be one space too many at the beginning, or something is not bold or something, and so it doesn't work. And it was very challenging for a little while to figure out why that was, because he was essentially taking something that worked in the test code section, transferring it pretty much by copy paste into his homework activities, and it would not run correctly for some reason. So there was a little bit of trial and error there, but he is doing really good with that now. Hopefully, I don't know if Friday he'll have time to work on his homework and activity or not, but hopefully he will. And then let's see. So the next thing is entrepreneurship, which we are using the unit study from Gather Round, and we are all really enjoying it. This is the second time that I've gone through this unit study. I did it with Emma when she was a freshman, and that was 4 years ago. So I remember some of the stories a little bit, but not really. When I went through it with Emma, I did print out I think the upper elementary or middle school workbook for Jack, but he did not do the whole thing. He only sat in for maybe the first week, and then he was off doing his other stuff, and that was totally fine. And then the other thing that we are doing is kind of like a personal development, and that is the What Color is Your Parachute book, and I'm really enjoying it. However, I think it's a little bit more challenging because Emma is also sitting in, and they really need their own book to go through all of the questions to complete their parachute, and I don't have a second book, and we kind of all like to do it together. So I've been reading everything and trying to go through it with them at the same time, which is not ideal. I was just looking to see if they had a workbook for this, because that would be a little bit easier than me trying to have both of them work out of the same book at the same time, but they don't have a workbook, so that's okay. So we have English, we have math, Japanese, science. This replaces his history. Okay, and then on Thursday, he has his World Watch current events report due and his passion project check-in. All right, and then I will put his dailies over here as well. So he has World Watch, he has narration, and that's written narration, and then he has Wordly Wise as well. This is the week of the 3rd, and like I said, we just have like 3.5 weeks left of this semester, and we're just trying to get through things. And I do think that I want to try one of the soft-bound teacher planners. They are a little bit smaller. They're not as small as this. They're 8 by 10, so it's probably closer to this B5 size, I would say. And, you know, they don't have all of the extra notes pages and stuff, but I can kind of adjust the pages that are in the planner the same way that I do with the regular teacher planner, but it will just be a lot more compact. And that was one of the reasons that I got this for 2026, because I was thinking, oh, this is so tiny, this will work great. But now I'm thinking I have way too many notes pages and I'm not really using the weekly planning. This is too small for me to plan out their weeks. So I need to have the notes pages for that. And then I thought I would be doing more time blocking or extra notes or something in the weekly pages, but I'm just not. The monthly pages I do use because I use it to keep track of all of our days of homeschool, as well as field trips and other things like that. So this is the plan for next week. And I am planning ahead of Sunday planning, which is one of the things that I've been trying to do with my goals for the past couple of months, is to shift my weekly planning as well as my homeschool planning to Thursday. It's actually Friday when I'm recording this, and yesterday was my monthly reset day for November, so I just did not have enough time to do both weekly and homeschool planning as well as all of my other planning for the month of November. But I feel really good about this, and we are just really head down at this point trying to finish the first semester well. I know we started a little bit later, so even though we're completing our first semester, we've worked really hard to get to the point where we are with all of our work and being out of the house so much. October was a big challenging month for Jack, especially because he had driver's ed, and that was a lot of hours outside of the house or doing online class or also just getting his driving hours in. And so it was a little bit challenging. I think when Emma did it, it was a little bit easier because we were done with school for the year. So she only had to do driver's ed, but Jack was trying to do all of his work plus driver's ed. It really made me appreciate the struggles of the public school kids going to their full day of school and then just walking into driver's ed at 2:30 after the school day is done until 5:30, and then having to go home and do homework and stuff. It was just crazy, but I'm hoping that we can really finish strong in the month of November and then have a nice Christmas break. This will be, I think, my last homeschool plan with me for 2025. So come 2026, we may be in a completely different planner, because why not, right? So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're looking for more help and encouragement around home and homeschool and goals, I would love for you to come check out my membership community. That link is always in the description box. Again, thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.